She was only a medic until the SEAL team stood at attention. They said she was just a medic, a quiet one, the kind who patched up wounds, filled out charts, and disappeared into the background of chaos. But one morning, on a base where silence meant survival and orders meant everything, every member of a Navy SEAL team stood at attention for her, and no one forgot what she did that night or what it cost her. Petty Officer Second Class Lena Hart had been stationed at Forward Operating Base Sheridan for 9 months. A U.S. Navy combat medic, 26 years old, with hands that never trembled and eyes that rarely spoke. Every day started the same. Reveille, quick run under dim base lights, chow at 05, medical briefings by 06. Routine, discipline, predictability, her shield against memory. Lena had seen more than most could bear: Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia. But this base was different, colder, secretive, a joint operation hub where intelligence and elite teams rotated quietly through. No names, no stories, just mission codes and silence. Among them was SEAL Team 9, known informally as the Ghosts. Men who never introduced themselves, who joked in the mess but vanished when the radio started humming. And though they passed her every day, sweat, mud, and exhaustion written across their faces, no one really saw her. To them, she was Doc Hart. Nothing more, nothing less. It began on a humid night in May. The air smelled of oil and jet exhaust. Lena had just finished logging casualty reports when she heard raised voices near the hangar bay. At first, she ignored it. Disagreements weren't rare here. But then came the sound of something heavy striking metal. A grunt, then silence. When she stepped inside, the light flickered over 2 men, one in officer blues, one in tactical fatigues. The officer, Commander Rollins, the base's operations lead, was shoving a young enlisted tech against the wall. The tech's lip bled, his ID tag dangled. Lena froze. Rollins hissed, "You saw nothing. You report that data and I'll bury your career before it starts." The young man's eyes darted toward her, desperate, silent, before Rollins turned, realizing he wasn't alone. "Medic Hart," he said coldly, "you're out of bounds." Lena's voice was calm, too calm. "He's bleeding, sir." Rollins straightened his uniform, his tone dropping into authority's cold register. "Then patch him up and keep your mouth shut." Lena didn't respond, she just nodded. But inside her, something shifted, a familiar feeling. That quiet recognition of wrong, of power used like a weapon. That night, she cleaned the cut on the tech's lip. He never spoke a word, just whispered, "Thank you," before leaving. And she knew this wouldn't be the last time she'd see Commander Rollins again. The next few weeks passed in silence, on the surface. But Lena noticed changes. Files missing from the med logs. Casualty reports altered. A quiet, systemic pattern of manipulation. Someone was covering something. Medical evaluations that didn't match real field injuries. Signatures that weren't hers. And every time she looked at those altered documents, the same clearance code appeared in the margin. RWL-07, Commander Rollins' authorization. Lena had been trained to stay detached. To fix the body, not fight the system. But truth has a way of clawing its way out, no matter how deep it's buried. That night, SEAL Team 9 was tasked for a covert recovery, 6 men deep behind enemy lines. Lena was on standby at the forward aid station. Her job, wait for evac, stabilize casualties, pray they came back breathing. Hours passed, the rain turned to static on the radio. Then the call. Medevac inbound, 3 wounded, 1 critical. The medbay came alive. Floodlights, stretchers, the metallic tang of blood and fuel. Lena worked fast, pressure dressings, IVs, morphine. One of the wounded, Chief Petty Officer Sam Becker, the team's point man, was hemorrhaging. She called for plasma, but the supply manifest was wrong. The unit she needed wasn't listed. It should have been there, but someone had signed it off the week before, RWL-07. Without the right plasma, Becker's chances dropped to 0. She didn't hesitate. She cross-matched her own blood, O negative, universal donor. Hooked herself up, direct transfusion, against regulation, against protocol. Close up, Lena's hand trembling as blood flows between lines. Radio chatter in the background. Rain thundering outside. Becker lived. But word spread fast. When Rollins found out, he wasn't impressed. He was furious. You violated Regulation in 12B, unauthorized self-transfusion. You endangered yourself and compromised chain of command. I saved a man's life. You broke the rules. Narrator. That was the difference between them. He saw rules. She saw lives. Rollins leaned in, his voice cold as steel. You think you're some kind of hero, Doc? You're not one of them. You patch them up and stay out of the way. That's your job. Lena stared back, calm, steady. With respect, sir, my job is to save Americans, not protect egos. He dismissed her on the spot, pending disciplinary review. Her clearance revoked, her post suspended. That night, she sat outside the med bay alone. She thought about the faces she'd treated, the broken, the bleeding, the silent, and she wondered if following orders was worth losing her soul. She could have walked away, but Lena Hart wasn't built that way. The next morning, before her suspension took effect, she accessed the med logs one last time. And what she found changed everything. Commander Rollins had been falsifying casualty records, covering up mission injuries tied to unauthorized operations. Wounded men were being declared fit for duty to avoid higher-level scrutiny. It wasn't just bureaucracy, it was criminal. She downloaded the data, encrypted it, sent it, not to the press, not to social media, but directly to Naval Command Internal Affairs. Then she waited. Tension-building music, Lena in the shadows watching helicopters depart, a sense of calm before the storm. 2 days later, investigators arrived, quietly. The base locked down, and Commander Rollins was escorted out in handcuffs. Word spread faster than orders. Every man from SEAL Team 9, including Chief Becker, the one she'd bled for, assembled outside the med bay. Lena was packing her duffel, ready for transfer. When she stepped out, she froze. The entire team, battle-worn, hardened, silent, stood at attention. Not for rank, not for orders. For her. Cinematic slow motion, boots aligned, rifles grounded, Becker steps forward. Doc Hart, the team wanted to thank you, not for patching us up, but for standing up when no one else would. He salutes her. Then one by one, every SEAL follows, perfect unison. Lena's throat tightens. Her hand rises, slow, respectful, trembling, returning the salute. They called her just a medic. But that morning, she stood taller than anyone in uniform. Lena Hart's report led to a full investigation. Commander Rollins was court-martialed, stripped of rank for falsification and misconduct. Her name never appeared in the headlines. But in the files of the Navy, she was quietly commended for exemplary integrity under pressure. She returned to duty 6 months later, same uniform, same insignia. But those who served with her said something had changed. When she walked the halls of a new base, soldiers nodded slightly. Whispers followed. That's her, the medic the SEALs stood for. Courage doesn't always wear stripes. Sometimes it wears a medic's patch and bleeds quietly in service of truth. True courage isn't in battle. It's in standing for what's right, even when you stand alone. Dedicated to the medics, nurses, and unsung heroes who serve with silent valor.